Shout out Ron Swanson. Where he takes a picture of Big Ben and he's like, oh, look, a clock. We don't have that in America.
The Miami Dolphins.
All right, third hardest strength of schedule. I think that's going to be a trend for this division. I mean, play a lot of common opponents, so it only makes sense that they're going to have the toughest strength of schedule. Not a whole lot of early picks, but that's to be expected with the trades and everything. They did pick up Isaiah Wynn, picked up Jalen Ramsey, Sean Elliott, David Long. So, I mean, they added to an already stacked roster. I mean, you have Jaylen Waddle, Tyreek Hill, two of the best receivers in the NFL. Braxton Berrios is quick little dude. He's out there.
He's surprisingly nice.
I think they still have Cedric Wilson on that team, which as a fifth receiver.
They're looking to trade him.
Okay, but I mean, even as a fifth receiver, it's hard to beat that. And then Raheem Mostert, Jeff Wilson, the San Francisco combination. On top of that,
I mean,
drafting Devon Achane, who I loved coming out of Texas A&M. So I mean, this offense.
Let me just throw this at you. Tyreek Hill, 4.29. Jaylen Waddle, 4.37. Braxton Berrios, 4.44. Chosen, formerly known as Robbie Anderson, 4.36. Mostert, 4.32. Achane, 4.32. That is a lot of speed.
Tua Tagovailoa, incapacitated. Mike White's coming in.
Hey, man, if anyone's going to get the job done, it's Mike White.
I agree. Sorry if you're crying, baby. But, yeah, then you look at you look at the defense, you look at the combination of Xavier Howard and Jalen Ramsey. I mean, it's hard to beat that combination at your two corners as well.
Can I talk on that for a minute here? So on my soapbox, this DB room is going to be a cheat code for Vic Fangio. Like, this might be the most talented secondary he's ever had. And he's a secondary guy. Like, his defenses revolve around the secondary making plays. And this is the most talent I think he's ever had. Like, he's going to be able to force offenses to attack parts of the field that they don't want to. Because that's what Vic Fangio does with less talent than this every place he's been. His goal is going to be to get the playmakers closer to the box, closer to the line of scrimmage where a high volume of the passes are going, and give them playmaking opportunities. Like, they're going to keep two high safeties pre-snap, and they're going to rotate right at the snap. There are so many options of the way he could go with rotations and splitting the field on either side. When you have Javon Holland on one side of the field playing any given role because he's that versatile, and Jalen Ramsey in the nickel across from him on the other side of the field playing literally anything potentially because he's that good. Like, there's just so much creativity and so much confusion he's going to throw at quarterbacks with this type of secondary. It's going to be beautiful.
And then, also, looking at their offensive line, throwing Armstead, Isaiah Wynn, Connor Williams at your center, Armstead at tackle, Wynn at tackle. I mean, their guards leave a little bit to be desired, but you have two good bookends. Then the switch Connor Williams made to center from playing guard in Dallas. He was a really, really good center last year. I mean, you just look around. I mean, it's hard to find holes. You look at their head coach, you look at their defensive coordinator. It's hard to find weaknesses. And then you look at the quarterback. And he's a quarterback that when he's healthy on the field, they win games. But can he stay healthy? And can he stay on the field?
So I do have a lot of questions with this O-line. I mean, you can't question Teron Armstead's play. You can question his availability because he misses games every year. And I'm not sure they really have the depth to deal with that. You went and added Isaiah Wynn. That's a solid depth addition, but there's a real chance he's starting at right tackle. He's not a swing tackle like he'd ideally be. They got Cedric Ogbuehi as a reserve, but he has starting experience at left tackle and right tackle, but he's never been a guy who you really want to count on. He's a guy who's like, that's your fail-safe. If everything else goes wrong, at least you got him. You'd rather have something a bit more sure there.
Yeah, but
Liam Eichenberg, we just don't know what he is.
Yeah.
Like, he really struggled, but there's still hope. I love Robert Hunt. I love Armstead. Williams is fine, but the other two spots, that left guard and right tackle spot, really worry me on this roster.
Isaiah Wynn.
Outside of that, though, there's nothing on the offense I'm worried. Yeah, I mean, Isaiah Wynn has had a hard time staying healthy his whole career. He's bounced inside, outside. There's a reason the Patriots didn't bring him back.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, he's fine.
But
he's a nice piece. I don't know if I want to rely on him as a starter.
Yeah, I like Isaiah Wynn a lot, and I mean, he's the blindside protector in this scenario because Tua is left-handed. So,
yeah, he's like Michael Orr.
But, but yeah,
I will say one thing on this O-line. I will say, it is built to these players' strengths align with what the offense wants to do. They're athletic. They can get out in space. They can create those cutback lanes that the wide zone offense wants to create, and they can run RPO play action off of that stuff for Tua, and not even deep RPO play action stuff like you usually see. You don't need it when you have Jaylen Waddle and Tyreek Hill.
So I didn't catch who was the 17th game for the Patriots because they got Carolina out of the NFC South. Who did the Patriots?
Miami does?
Yeah, who did the Patriots get out of the NFC South in this? Oh, New Orleans. Yeah, we talked about it. Okay, moving on. So, I mean, you look at the schedule early on, you have the Chargers starting out. I mean, going to LA, I'm not too worried about that. Going to New England, I'm not too worried about that. And then Denver's coming to Miami early in the season. It's going to be hot. Then you have to go to Buffalo. That's going to be tough. But then you have the Giants coming there and Carolina. Like, I feel like this is the exact opposite of the Patriots scenario. It's like they have a lot of winning opportunities early. And then late in the season where it's still hot in Miami, but it's cooling down everywhere else, you start bringing in these Jets, Dallas, Buffalo. I mean, that's the best time to get these teams is late in the season when it's still hot and it's cooled down everywhere else, because early in the year, I don't feel like Miami's home field advantage is as strong because it's hot everywhere. It's been hot. It's been hot in training camp. You go to Miami, yeah, it's hot. It might be a different kind of heat, but whenever you're used to 40-degree weather for a month and a half, then you go down to Miami in mid-November and it's 88, 95 degrees and 85% humidity when you've been used to 60-degree, 70-degree weather days. I feel like that's where their home field advantage really, really kicks in. So a lot of their tougher teams, I mean, they got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 home games after the bye compared to 3 road games. Like, not only do they have a break in their schedule early on, I think, with catching the Chargers opening week. I mean, if you're gonna play the Chargers, I want them opening week if I'm Miami. And then New England, who we just talked about, a lot of unknowns. Denver early, get that Buffalo game out of the way, and then you got Giants, Carolina, Philly. That's a good way to start. And then New England, KC, bye, and then you're basically home for the rest of the season after the bye. You go to New York, you go to Washington, you go to Baltimore. That's it.
They're winning 11 games.
Are one of these versus game? Do they have a overseas game? Is that what this is, or is that true? Like home versus the Raiders.
I didn't track. I didn't track any overseas games. They might. I didn't catch which one it would have been. Though.
Okay, because I know sometimes the home game in there in London or something. But if this is true, I mean, at home versus the Raiders, back-to-back bye games, Jets, Washington, which I don't know when and where. I don't know if one of those is a Monday night game, but I mean, they could stay up on the East Coast or they could go back down easy flight. But then home versus Tennessee, home versus the Jets, home versus the Dallas, then one more trip to Baltimore, then home versus Buffalo. And one of the toughest places to play late in the season is a hot, swampy Miami Dolphins stadium where every guy on the field is a track star running a 4.3, and you haven't had temperatures over 65 degrees in 3 months at that point.
So, like I said, I mean, I think this team's winning 11 games.
Yeah.
Like, if Tua gets hurt early, maybe that's 9 or 10, but like I really
I think they're going to be able to run the ball. I
going to
think they're
win
going to be able to
a
control
lot
the
of
ball.
games for them no
I
matter
think their
what.
defense is good enough to turn you over to where if Mike White comes in, you tell me Mike White can't get the ball to Jaylen Waddle, Braxton Berrios, Tyreek Hill. And then I think Devon Achane is going to end up being the bell cow out of this backfield. And I think Mostert and Wilson are going to end up kind of playing their San Francisco role where they're kind of splitting the.
I mean, I don't think there'll be a bell cow. I think it'll be pretty even between the three.
I think he could potentially. Like, I think he's that good to where he could, where if they run the ball 30 plays, he could get 17 carries and the other two guys split 13 carries type deal.
So, I mean, I definitely get what you're saying, and like I could see it, but if I was Mike McDaniel, I would pump the brakes on that just because, and this is something I said about Achane going into the draft. Love him. He's undersized and he runs like he's oversized. I don't think I want that guy getting 17 carries again.
Run him into the ground. He's a running back. I mean, it sucks. That's the nature of the beast. But, I mean...
limit him to 12 and then, take the good and accept it that he's not going to give you 17 a game because you're not going to have him for the playoffs if you do.
Yeah. I could see that also. First week, 3 carries. Then it's 4 carries. Then 4 carries, 6 carries, 7 carries. And he's
build it up over
less
the
than
season.
10, and then you hit week 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, and he's getting 12 to 15 carries to where he's going into the playoffs. And if you need him to tote the rock 17, 20 times in the playoffs, it's not the first time in his NFL career that he's putting that kind of workload on his back, that deal. So I think they'll ramp him up. I mean, I'm not saying go draft him in the second round of fantasy because he's going to be the lead back in a Mike McDaniel offense. I'm saying he's going to be the lead back of the Mike McDaniel offense going into the playoffs.
I can see that. Yeah, I can agree with that. Final thoughts on him. I like the over 9.5.
I like the over 9.5.
This is my favorite division bet at plus 300. I just think that's good value. They're not my favorite to win the division, but at plus 300, they're my second favorite to win the division. At plus 300, I'll take that.
Yeah, I haven't seen all the odds. Who's the favorite here? Vegas.
Buffalo.
Vegas odds. Buffalo's the favorite. See, I'm taking Dolphins or Jets based off value in that scenario, but I like.
What if I told you Buffalo's plus 110? No? All right.
I mean, we'll get to Buffalo here in a second, but yeah. So I'm taking the over here. Playoffs is minus 110 both ways. So basically a standard bet. I'm taking playoffs. I'm taking over. I'm taking division. And I'm probably stopping there.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. I mean, I think it's all. I think everything is lining up very well for the Dolphins this year as long as Tua can stay healthy. And even if he doesn't, their outlook is still nice.
Yeah.